TV, we done been in your business, child. Even if you didn't want us to be.
Yeah, but that's okay.
But you always created your own. They're like, let me get in the front of this before anybody else could.
Yeah, because nobody can tell my story like me.
Period. So I feel like this is a moment that people need to see from Tamar.
For sure.
This is important.
And speaking of reality TV, I've decided to go back to the Braxtons because remember last season I was a friend to the show.
Okay, congratulations.
Yes.
Yeah.
Congratulations. It's only right it got your name on the show. Hello.
Yeah, we're going to be also filming the Braxtons, and it's very interesting because my niece is coming on the show, and not to be messy, but I just thought it was important for her to understand that somebody is here for you. Yeah, because I was surprised by that whole, outburst. I guess she got it all, honest. Mm-hmm. However, I just thought it was important for her to know that somebody is here for her.
I love that.
Please, I don't have any time for any gossip now. Eh?
Yes. Tamar describes how her niece is going to be coming on the show. Now, in a previous video, I did explain to you guys that Ashleebraxton, who is Tamar's niece, was coming to Tamar's podcast. However, once she arrived in the United States, at some point she was told that they were going to film. Now, I understand not wanting to be difficult, and she pretty much went with it. Now, if you guys are following Ashleebraxton's story, I'm here to tell you that experience to the United States to actually, meet Tamar for her podcast and actually do that filming was not something that was positive with regards to what Ashley probably anticipated. Now, she never came out and really said anything direct, but if you guys followed what she said, she gave you guys all of the clues. Now, in Tamar's video that you guys just watched, she mentioned her niece as having outbursts, and as if she didn't know what was going on, she also stated that she wanted to bring her niece on to basically deal with some issues as if she was trying to help her niece. But as you guys have been saying in the comments forever, that Ashley has been talking about this sometime, but what a coincidence that Tamar brought her on her podcast and also filmed her for the upcoming season of their show. Now, is this again exploitation? Because if Ashley has been talking about this issue that has happened within her family, what a convenience that we now bring Ashley on the show to talk about it. Wouldn't we need to resolve this between us before we actually bring it to the world? This is a continuum of what we have saw with this family. We've saw them exploit Tracy. We've saw them exploit Tracy's brother. And now it is happening to Ashley. Well, for those of you that may disagree, let's just hear what Ashley had to say, and then we're going to break this down into smaller segments.
I was in the States. I got sick, as you can hear kind of right now, like I'm really sick. And I've also just been working, which I'm really grateful for. But like I've had commercials to shoot and like auditions to go for. And then I had to come home and kind of process everything and like get my mind together and go to therapy and like have a session and realize like, okay, what I'm going to say. So I'm going to put this into two parts. Part number one is going to be like how I'm feeling now and pre-podcast. And part number two is going to be podcast. I think it's important to kind of like break those up. If you even follow me on this journey, you know that this is like a lot to keep up with and to kind of pay attention to and to kind of like listen to. So I felt like it's a little bit easier, and that way I can say what I want to say without trying to feel rushed to cram it into one video. And also I realized on this trip that I'm talking to like a few groups of people, but I realized that the group that I want to be talking to are the survivors, And so part one, part two, here you go. All right, let's talk about today. What am I feeling today? First and foremost, I am a survivor, and I didn't realize that until the trip. I was like, wait a minute. you know, because people were like, well, why are you telling this story? And I was like, I was kind of getting offended by it. Like, what you mean why I'm telling this story? But then I realized that people didn't really get it. And I was like, oh, no, 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 no. I'm a survivor. I'm healed. Like, I'm not completely healed because I think healing is continuous, but I'm a survivor, you know? And so I realized that in this trip that people like thought that I'm trying to do this for something or for some, like, they're like, oh, you just, what did somebody say? I was having an outburst. What? And I think that that is so funny because no, I'm not having an outburst, baby. I'm not having an outburst, honey. I survived. So first and foremost, I'm a survivor.
So as you guys saw in Ashley's video, she mentioned the outburst. If you guys recall, Tamar pointed to her as if she were as if she was having an outburst. And of course, Tamar just swept in because she was so concerned about her niece. She invited her to the States. You know, obviously, Ashley doesn't live in the US. And suddenly, Ashley was on the show. Are you guys following this? So it seems like Ashley has been exploited. Now, some of y'all been on in Ashley's comments, and that is not what she's saying directly. But if you guys pay attention to what she's saying, this is exactly what she's saying, guys. You don't actually need someone to tell you their name if you have a copy of their birth certificate, correct? I don't get Ashley as a messy person. I get her as a person who wants to be set free from whatever trauma she suffered at the hands of her family. But at the same time, she is not here to drag people. So for all of the people that's going to her comments saying, oh, she didn't say that, she didn't say this, she didn't say that, do you actually need to be told everything, or can you just use the brain that God provided you with and just a little bit of common sense to draw a conclusion? Again, if someone tells you about an experience that they had, how they was afraid and how people didn't believe them, you're going to go in their comments and say, were you talking about the Braxton sisters? I mean, come on, guys. Let this lady tell her story and stop trying to pretend as if she's not talking about the Braxtons and Tamar and the grandmother when that is exactly who she's talking to. And let's not leave out the brother.
The inner child of me is so happy because for the longest time, she's been trying to reach out to people to be like, I need help. You know, I'm living in chaos. I need help. And so from the church, from school, from friends' parents, from family, like I have been asking for help. And like the inner me has been like, hello. It's really interesting too, because it's like people never believed me. And even now, because it's like, girl, your last name is this. What I'm speaking about, you wouldn't ever expect, I guess, maybe. So for a lot of people, it's kind of like shocking. But then also I think people don't know how to handle it. It's like, okay, sorry, or like, what are you looking for from all of this? And the greatest part about it now, though, is like, I'm not looking for anything. I just survived, and I'm just telling my story so that the other survivors can hear it and know that, like, you guys did a great job. And also, if you're going through it, like, you have to come out on top, and you will come out on top. I didn't have this growing up. I didn't have somebody I had books, but I didn't have somebody that I could look up to, or that I could go on the internet and hear somebody tell their story and be like, dang, that's me. I'm a survivor. So that's my MO. I'm also feeling better too, because it's like, I think the comments and the scrutiny of all of it kind of got to me a little bit as well. And I just felt a little bit judged. And I was playing this role of like, I have to tell my story so that people believe me. And it's like, I had somebody say to me this trip that was like, girl, you are not here to tell your story to be believed. You are a survivor, period. And you're talking to a certain group of people. And I was like, okay, yeah, I feel that. I definitely feel better about that, because it felt very much like I had to have a list of all the things that happened. And I was like, okay, so this happened. What do you know what I mean? I'm trying to convince people to believe me, but I don't need to do that. Sorry. So right now I'm feeling very good. I'm still a little bit, like I said, I'm a little bit sick, but at the same time, I'll take it. I just got a whole bunch of vitamins as well. And so I'm feeling like a refreshness of me. It's like a second part of my life has begun and I'll never be the same. That's also something that's really cool as well. It's like, I'll never be the same person again. The person who I was before I told this story is not the person who I am after I told this story. And I think that that's pretty cool too. So if you're a survivor of abuse, make some noise in the comments, and not as a space and place for other people to look at it, like just for you and for me and for us to have this relationship and this conversation and just this thing where it's like, yeah, we're survivors and we did it. And it's so cool that I'm building this community of people who actually get me and understand me, because that's such a big part of me and a big part of my life that I've just excluded and realized that it is a part of me. So I can't build a community without addressing those things. Like, this is my tribe and I'm happy. And me and my tribe, we're good. You know what I mean? So I'm happy. Just also, I feel like everything was just getting out of hand in terms of like where the narrative was going and all this. It just felt like everybody was taking a piece and was like, it's about me. It's about, like, wait a minute. It's not about you. It's not about you. It's not about you. Like, this is my story, you know? Everybody is entitled to tell their story how they want to tell it, wherever they want to tell it, if you choose to tell it or not. It's just not my choice. That's not my opinion. I can't care. Like, it's so weird. It's like you have your own space and place and platform.
Now, guys, I felt that if I broke it down in this format, maybe you guys would be able to maybe perceive it just a little bit better. Now, I've broken this down into different parts, and then I'm going to come on and kind of talk about what you guys saw. Now, if you guys listen to what Ashley just said, she said people wanted her, she said people wanted it to be about them. Now, who do you guys think she's talking to? Now, she's talking about her trip to the United States, okay? She didn't come here to see friends. She came here to see Tamar, and subsequently she was able to see the family. You will learn in later videos, she talks about how the network came to her afterwards. I mean, she's gone now, and wanted her to, wanted to see if she wanted to have a conversation with Trina. Trina is the aunt that is allegedly, it was her husband that was doing these inappropriate text messages. So I just want you guys to know that this entire trip that she took to the United States was not a good trip. Now, after this video, she drops more nuggets and she talks about toxic family. Now, I'm not saying that the Braxton family is the only toxic family, but we know that they are a toxic family because Ashley came all the way to the United States, and it seems like she was very excited because maybe she just wanted to resolve things, but it seems like she was exploited. Now, if you guys are listening to her video, she talks about coming and everybody making it about them. Who do you guys think she's talking about?
I also had to kind of like take over the wheel and be like, this is my space, this is my place, this is my platform, this is my story, this is what I want to talk about. This is what happened to me. This is not me trying to convince you that this is what happened to me. No, it happened to me. There's enough proof, there's enough evidence of all the things that I'm saying, and whatever you feel like you want to do with it, that's on you. You know what I mean? I'm not asking for somebody to come in and save me anymore. I am saved. I saved myself, really, actually, is what I did. I saved myself. And I'm not asking anything from anybody. I'm good. That's kind of where I'm at in a nutshell. I'm good. So that I'm feeling like, woof, woof, woof. So thank you. I'm proud of me. I'm proud of my inner child. I'm proud of us. We made it. We survived. We lost some people along the way, but you know what? we're here today, we're strong, and we're only going to go up from here. So, all right, so now let's get into the pre-podcast, because the pre-podcast for me kind of shook me up a little bit. So I left to go to the US on Sunday. So I think it was either like Wednesday or Thursday. No, maybe Wednesday. I look through my phone. I'm looking at my emails and I got an email that pops up. And it's a cease and desist letter from you know who, from the one who shall not be named, Lord Voldemort. And I was like, and immediately I was back to that little kid again. The little kid who was told to shut up. The little kid who had to hold everything in and be quiet. Like, it just felt like somebody was pressing on that part again. You know, it feels like somebody's going like this to you, and it's like somebody's starting to squeeze it, and I'm starting to feel like this again. Like, oh no, people are trying to shut me up. This is crazy. Took a little bit to process that. There's a lot of anger in that. There's a lot of like disappointment. Also feelings of just kind of being over it, because it's like, what's this? Do you know what I mean? There's been no phone call to me, but there's text messages, there's this letter, cease and desist, and it feels like everybody around me is talking. There's a lot of chatter going around, and I can hear it and I can feel it, but it's like there's no chatter that's coming directly to me in terms of like a phone call or something like that. Do you know what I mean? It's very much like, here's a text message and here's a letter. And, you know, when I had my therapy session and I had a chance to kind of sit down and think about it, I was just like, you know, what we kind of put together is like, what do you do when you're scared? Do you know what I mean? When you're fearful, that's kind of how you decide to act. And so, you know, now that I'm here, I can kind of understand where it comes from. But at the same time, it was super stressful because, you know, then I didn't know also that when I was going to the US that I was going to be doing a scene with Braxton Family Values. And so that kind of caught me off guard too. And I was just like, okay, you know, what am I going to say? How am I going to say it now? How am I going to voice my opinion? Like, it became about you, became about this one. And it's like, I don't want to say something that could actually legally get me in trouble because I don't feel like, you know what I mean? Like, there's just so much pain in it. And, so it was just really stressful on the way. And I tried to have brave face, and I tried to just, it's why I just didn't post. It's why I didn't really talk. It's just heavy, you know what I mean? Because, you know, in life is very unfair. And I think you realize you want a situation to go the way that works for you, right? Like, you want the support, you want the love, you want what you feel like you need, but that's not really life, right? Like, life gives you the things that you just have to learn how to deal with. You know, on the lead up to going to the US, it just was like, I don't even know if I want to go. I don't even know, like what am I doing? I started to doubt myself. I started to think about, you know, is this the right way for me to talk about things? Like, also, what am I about to walk into? Am I about to be ambushed? You know, I was very scared when I was even just arriving in the A. I was like, what if somebody's outside? Do you know what I mean? There's threats inside.
Now, I wanted to break it down like this, guys, because I believe you missed a lot of information. Now, as you hear Ashley tells her story, she tells you how she was really afraid. I mean, there were threats inside of the text messages. Who do you guys think she's talking about? I mean, she doesn't want to call people out by name because she doesn't want to go through all of the legal stuff that she would more than likely be dragged through if she started to name people. Now, are you guys not listening? I mean, did you miss parts of what she's saying? She's telling you everything. The only thing she's not telling you is the names of the individuals. Now, we know that she came to the US to be on Tamar's podcast, but drawing from everything she's saying, it wasn't a safe place. It wasn't a safe place for her physically, mentally, and definitely not emotionally. What she is telling you guys is people made it about them. Who do you think these people are, guys?
Very much like I'm not really feeling safe, you know? And I was grateful that I had my friends who were there to kind of support, and it felt very much like, you know, everybody's like, send your location, girl. Everybody was just checking in, like, are you okay? You know, I had to let some people know what could be happening. I had to let people know where I was at. It was just a very stressful moment. I think it's just important for me to share this because you could also be going through the same thing, or maybe this is why you're not sharing yourself or sharing your stories, because you're afraid of the repercussions and the backlash. I feel like people were trying to do a good job of trying to shut me up and to try to make me be quiet, and I can understand. But at the same time, this is why I say tell your story, is because, you know, there's no story that you could put out about me that's going to make me be quiet. Do you know what I mean? And sure, if you feel like that's what you need to do, then you got to do it. But at the same time, it's like, you got to make sure that you tell. It's like, I don't really know what you could say about me that I haven't already said about me. And I think that that is so, so, so important. And if you're somebody who's facing this time of your life, or maybe this is why you're scared, is because you feel like there's going to be so much backlash against you, or you know, people are not going to believe you. That also threw me for a loop. I'm going to put this part in part 2, but I didn't realize that I had actually surrounded myself with people that I thought believed me, but in reality didn't. And I was picking up on it, and I was trying to make it so that they would believe me. You know what I mean? Like, my energy was like, how can I be believed? And I'm going to talk about that in part 2, but that also kind of threw me for a loop as well. My people, my tribe here, I think people just know me for a different version of me. And so they know that this is something that I'm passionate about. They know that I've been talking about this for a while. It's not like it's just come up out of the blue. They know that this was the next step in my journey, you know, in terms of like sharing. And so for them, it was very much like, I'm so proud of you. This is the next step. You're being very courageous. You can do it. You know you're going to get a lot of backlash. You know that it's going to be some support, but then some not support, and you just have to keep going. So pre-podcast for me was a lot, but at the same time, it took a lot out of me, but it definitely made me stronger mentally. And I just have a different perception in terms of sharing and telling my story. So I'm actually doing a talk in, I think it's either 2 or 3 months, and I'm going to be on stage and sharing my story in another aspect, in a space and place of like this. I'm an advocate for abuse, and I'm speaking to a crowd of people who have been abused. So the energy is going to be completely different, but I have a different energy in terms of my deliverance of what I'm trying to say, because it's not even a space and place of like, do you believe me? It's not like, please, you know, do you believe me? Please, sir, can I have some more? It's not even that. It's very much like, no, this is it. This is what happens. This is me. This is who I am today. And if you're a survivor, put your hands up in the air and say, you know, amen. And if you are in the process of becoming a survivor, we got you. We got your back. You can do it. You can do anything. It's not going to be easy, but it's okay. This is like your triumph of your life. And sometimes life gives you shitty things, and sometimes life gives you situations that you didn't ask for. But for you to be able to overcome them, now you can live the next part of your life.
Now, did the Braxtons team up to bring Ashlee to the United States to make her look like a liar? Why did she feel she traveled so far and so long to think she was finally going to get the closure that she had maybe anticipated or maybe waited for, all to get here to have to prove everything that she had been saying, to feel unsupported, to feel emotionally afraid, physically afraid, and then almost feel like she's forcing people to believe her? That does not seem like a good environment, guys. So I don't know where some of you read into or what parts you didn't understand, because Ashlee has explained it very, very clear, very proficiently. But again, what she doesn't want to do is call out individual people, because make no mistake about it, Ashley is on a crusade to heal herself. And in fact, she says she's healed, but she feels like healing is continuous. And I have to agree. Now, again, she does not strike me as a messy person. She's not calling out names, but she is definitely entitled to her experience, and she is definitely entitled to share her experience. Now, if you guys did not understand the part where she said she did not know she was filming, so let me break that down for you. She arrived to the United States. She did not know that she would be filming, but obviously at some point when she got there, they told her, but she did not know. Guys, it's simple. She traveled to the United States thinking she was going to do a podcast, to arrive and be told that she's filming a scene. She didn't know it, guys. Pay attention.